Welcome to the How to Be a Host podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Charles Ewudo. And today joining me is a very exciting guest of mine, Michelle Hacker. She is the general manager of Delilah from H.wood Group. How you doing today, Michelle?
Very well. It's very nice to be here with you today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I know it's been quite some time now. We've been meaning to get this together, but I'm so thrilled that we're finally here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I know I went to really just jump into it. I know our audience is really curious and learn more about you. Can you start by telling me what initially inspired you to pursue a career in hospitality and nightlife? How did that come all together?
Sure. I mean, hospitality, I feel like kind of found me.
Yeah.
Funny enough, at first it was really just a means to an end, right? I started in hospitality. I've been in hospitality since I can remember. And then it just transpired. Once I landed with the H.wood Group, I knew that it was a special hospitality group to be a part of. And then it just kind of captivated me. But hospitality is fun for me at the end of the day. I'm very social and outgoing. So being able to combine my personality mixed with, providing a service and that nature of everything is kind of essentially who I am. So it really just makes sense for my personality as well.
I love it. Hospitality is a very people-driven business. So having that personality, honestly, really is a prerequisite. I would say you got to have that. Otherwise, you can't be in the space at all.
Certainly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how'd you get your start at Delilah? How was your journey? How has it been since joining the team? Are you able to talk to me about that?
Sure. In total, I've been with the H.wood I started about 10 years ago with the H.wood Group.
Oh, wow.
I did take a little hiatus. COVID happened, whatnot. Was blessed enough to have another opportunity to come back post-COVID. But essentially, it really started when I was a server. I was a server at the Nice Guy. This was before Delilah even opened. So it was a very different animal then. Nice Guy was it was very different. And it really transpired into something even more different once Delilah opened. And then we essentially wanted that to be the aspect of the club nightlife service and then lean more restaurant with the Nice Guy. I was in my 20s when I was waitressing, and I was in school at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I was actually studying broadcast journalism. So going into the restaurant business wasn't something that I didn't know was actually going to stick long term. And then I pivot a little bit in my late 20s while I was still serving and going to school. And I realized there's an opportunity there. The opportunities that they have were endless, and they believed in me. I felt like it was almost like it's really hard, to get established in LA in general, as some people may know. And I felt like it was almost like they had my back, and I knew that, and they honestly knew I had their back too. So it was like a mutual understanding that, one, I understood the culture, I understood the brand, I understand their clientele, I understand what they were looking for and striving for, and I believed in them just as much as they believed in me. So I saw an opportunity where I was like, I want to stay within the group and pivot in this part of my career and be maybe a manager.
Right.
So I actually approached them about wanting to go into management.
Wow.
I didn't understand the full scope of management at the time. I was very naive to the dedication level, but I was in a position to actually fall into that place mentally to put and make sacrifices and other aspects of my life to be a manager with the H.wood Group. So actually, Delilah is the third venue I've been a manager. It started with Petite Taqueria, if you remember.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like, so I would obviously handle, poppy clientele before they go to the nightclub and things of that nature. We did a lot of buyouts. Being in the extension of Poppy, I got to kind of even be a part of some of, the collaborative buyouts that they would have too. So I did get to see full scale nightclub as well as on the management side of things at that time too. COVID happens. It became a full circle moment. They reached back out to me. They knew I was interested and left on great terms.
Yeah.
and held them to high regard. And so they were like, why don't you come back? And I was pleased to do so.
Wow.
I was given a full circle moment opportunity to come back and be the GM of Nice Guy for about 3 years.
Wow.
It was, I love the Nice Guy.
Yeah.
I just want to say it was my baby for so long. Yeah. And giving up Nice Guy was not easy.
Damn.
Like I was not ready to, it took me literally 3 years to be ready to let go of it. Because it's such a special venue too. Nice Guy is incredible.
And you built such a strong team there already.
And I did.
Yeah.
And a lot of the employees are still there. I go there today and a lot of the employees are still there. So it's almost like my second home now.
Wow.
And then after 3 years, I was ready for some change, ready for more challenge, again, more sacrifices.
Yeah.
Because I knew going to Delilah, I was going to have to make more sacrifices. It's a much bigger venue with way more employees.
And more.
And then now I've been there for a year and a half.
Wow. Congratulations. Like you had a very impressive trajectory leading up to Delilah. I would say you're truly an LA nightlife veteran. We love to talk to you about all this.
Yeah.
It's really impressive to see where you've gone, and where you came from and where you've landed. It's very impressive. Delilah is such an extraordinary space. Like it's literally LA hotspot for you can't really talk about LA without talking about Delilah. Let's be honest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can only imagine with the level of pressure you deal with, right? As a female manager in a male-dominated industry, what challenges does that come with? How are you navigating that?
I think that now I'm in a position where the challenges don't feel so much related to that nature. Yeah. But I think when you're first getting established as a woman in business, a lot of it's more of like a trust factor. You really have to build that trust with other people. And I would say it becomes a little bit more challenging in a sense where it might take more time to get there. Some people can have a conversation and you click instantly. And I feel like there's probably a little bit more benefit male to male because you can relate quicker. Same as I would think maybe women to women, right? Yeah. Women tend to have that same and navigate, conversations a certain way, just as men navigate conversations a certain way. Yeah. So, sometimes I can see where I have more challenges being more relatable, right? In a sense where it's like, I am the woman in the room. I think that also knowing how to have a voice is everything. Sometimes being the woman, you have to know when to be receptive, when to not, say something, when to not say something, have an opinion, or, I've learned how to be more collaborative with people versus so that I don't come off a certain way.
Right.
That's everything. Like being collaborative so that I don't come off a certain way and too authoritative in my feminine energy or masculine energy because I'm trying to navigate both.
Oh, wow.
Right? You have to navigate both as a woman. So I think that, there's multiple challenges and it doesn't just go to the people I work with. It's also like being in the venue too, right? I have to be, definitive. Sometimes I have to really move definitively because of the fact that I'm a woman, Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you spoke about the two different energy types, masculine versus femininity. And I can only imagine, given your role and the position you hold, you have to navigate both sides of that. So it's really impressive to see how you're able to really balance that. And it shows just through your team and how polite they are and how they actually deliver world-class service to their guests. They always say leadership starts at the top, right?
Absolutely.
So that just says a lot about you when anyone enters Delilah, and they could feel your presence in that room, and that was you.
Thank you.
I mean, that was great. I'm curious to know, and I'm pretty sure our listeners are curious about this. Like, are you able to talk to me a little bit more about like what the typical day looks like? Like what, I imagine, your events happen at night, right? So what's your day-to-day look like? Are you able to talk to me about your road? Like, what does it look like?
Sure. My days are packed in. Generally, my days will actually start closer to maybe noon. at times, because I do have meetings throughout the day that people never see or know about. I would think even my staff, they don't even probably know the amount of time that actually goes in, but I ensure that they're aware of like my dedication levels to them. So oftentimes there's meetings, right? I obviously want to fully scale the business, so I look at how can I help with certain areas, right? My labor costs, my F&B costs, these types of things are super important. So diving in and ensuring that the business is, at the end of the day, when I go home, there's profitability. That is the number one goal, right? So I would say that my day kind of starts with analyzing the business, and then ending it with profitability.
Yeah, profit. It's a business at the end of the day. People think like these restaurants and nightclubs is just party, party, party. But at the end of the day, it's a business just like any other business model. If you're not pushing for profitability, then you go out of business.
Sure.
That's just a fact. So I'm really glad that you're able to really touch on that a little bit more. I'm sure, it's not just about numbers and data and things like that. Um, People want to know about the good times at Delilah. Are you able to like talk a little bit more about, what's been one of your best nights there? Are you able to talk about some of your best memories as a manager as Delilah?
Well, I love buyouts. Those are always fun because you can like transform the entire room, which is fantastic. Sometimes I literally have seen like a piano in the middle of the living room, the living room, my living room.
And pretty much.
But I literally like it's nice because you can actually transform the whole venue. And those nights are always special and unique. And then I would say, honestly, having nights where it's almost like it feels like a takeover. So we have, sometimes we'll have like a corporate employee, honestly, like corporate employees that will come in, have their birthday, and the whole night is just like a takeover. Those are always fun too because it's gonna curate a big vibe, and I know I'm gonna see like a bunch of people that I know, or like people that it just kind of brings and amplifies the room significantly, and then we kind of like do our own little touches as well, and we make it feel more special too. So obviously a lot more work goes into these types of nights. It takes preparation, even when we do take over nights as well. I even like nights where it's like I have a specialty DJ in house and they're either like world renowned or like they're just really known. And then they also bring, it almost feels like another takeover night. Those are always fun too. So I think just kind of having like those special elements where either, it's a buyout or it's like, you have takeover events.
Yeah, I love that a lot. Because it sounds like there is a lot of moving parts to that. With you know those different style of different nights. But just out of curiosity, though, because you said a lot that a lot of people in the industry or outside of the industry might not understand what you mean by buyout or takeover. Are you able to explain to me what's the difference between a buyout night and a takeover night?
Yes. So a buyout is essentially when someone actually is renting the space. So oftentimes it's very much enacted on that's their venue for the night, and I'm orchestrating it.
Okay.
Okay. And then a takeover is where oftentimes where we'll actually have a night that is designed for general service, and then we're going to actually transform it, and maybe I'm pulling inventory on my tables and chairs, or we're actually setting up lights. All of a sudden it's 10 o'clock and now we have the whole room is red. So we do certain elements where we're catering to certain people, and then now we're going strict guest list for capacity issues and things of that nature. Sorry.
That makes sense.
Yeah, takeover nights, they kind of sometimes start as a general evening, and then we transform at a certain time, and then it's like more guest lists, very strict, and like it's like a night.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because at first impression, I think Delilah of a restaurant. Right? I just go dinner. The vibes are sexy. The vibes are great.
Yeah.
But then the takeover starts after that, where it transforms into like a party, and I've seen that with my own eyes. It flows very seamless. It just goes.
It does, as lot, but it takes a lot of eyes on the room on my side, and then communications, everything of that nature, because We also dealing with food. So knowing and navigating that whole purpose of like, the actual dining service of it all.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother element that we throw into it. So yeah, I'm glad it seems smoothless. That's the goal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Honestly, congrats on that. It's really great. Beautiful experience each time. Very consistent with that. Love that a lot. So, I'm curious though, like, how do you handle like all of the high pressure that comes with the job? Like, how are you dealing with that?
It gets easier the longer you're in a place. Specifically, it's always harder when you first start out somewhere. It has challenges. I would say those challenges get worked out within a certain amount of time, like maybe a few months in, and then it starts to. But really, I think team. If I don't have a team working with me, I mean, I would be really spread thin. So having my full management team working with me is super crucial to my success and the venue's success. I think that ultimately it has to come from my ability to stay calm under pressure 100% and just be the voice of reason, right? I know that at the end of the day, I have a reputation to uphold, and it's not just my reputation, it's my staff's reputation, it's the building's integrity and things of that nature. How I deal with it is essentially just treating every day anew. I think if I roll into the next day's service and I'm letting something harp on me, because that would be easy to do, to be honest with you. But every day I really have to have a fresh slate, and I really have to ensure that I'm going in with, because you can imagine all the things that come up. It's not just my clientele. Sometimes maybe, there's disciplinaries and things like that with my staff. I have to come in the next day and we all have to feel comfortable. And I think ultimately coming in and knowing that fresh slate is super important with being able to, be calm under this environment.
Right. I'm curious to know, like, 'cause you mentioned your team a lot, like, and out of curiosity, like, what does it take? What type of team is required to run something like this?
Yeah, I think I have to have everyone's buy-in to be successful. That means that I need to be approachable. I need to be, outgoing, fun to be around. But I have to have a little bit of that diversity where I'm also. They know how I operate as a person just as much as it's a respect. It's a mutual respect thing, right?
Yeah.
When I first came into Delilah, I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges was the staff, was the team. And I always tell them that.
Yeah.
They know this. I didn't want to go in and like make, because there's people that have been there for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
There's people that have literally opened the venue and they're still working there today.
Wow.
So getting their buy-ins is important. I can only imagine putting myself in their shoes. I've been in their shoes, right? I was a veteran of Nice Guy. I wouldn't want a manager coming in and make me feel like, this, that, and the other. I would want them to be a collaborative and try their best to work with me, right? So at the end of the day, I really just give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But I have to have everyone's buy-in for it to work. That means I need them to understand the importance of their menu knowledge. I need them to understand the importance of customer service satisfaction. All these different elements that go into it, and just letting them know that at the end of the day, I absolutely have their back, 100%. But we are here to do a service.
Yeah.
As well.
Wow, I love that because with your leadership, they're able to like execute the vision consistently night after night, and it takes a lot of preparation to do all of that. So that's really impressive that you're able to really navigate that. Like, because I imagine just getting in your position must be very difficult to get that. Like, so like, what's one piece of advice you'd give other women who are looking to break into nightlife or hospitality? Like, how would you do
I
it?
would give anyone, and not just women, it's anyone, the advice is you have to believe in yourself. And honestly, sometimes you really do need to fake it till you make it. There are people out there that they could probably very well come in and do a great job, but if you don't believe in yourself and you don't think that you're capable of doing it, you'll never know. So I think ultimately it's just having that system, that belief system.
Wow.
And again, it comes with sacrifices. You have to be able to make sacrifices. I don't get to just go wherever I want, whenever I want. Like I'm very regimen. My schedule's very regimen. So you have to learn to accept those certain, nuances of the business, and knowing that like ultimately you are upheld to a certain standard when it comes to being reliable, available, like all these different things. So ultimately, you have to be able to make sacrifices in your life if you're willing to actually be a part of something that is that big of a scale.
But you love it enough.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I really do, I love. I thrive in chaos. I love chaos. Actually, I feel like, and when I say chaos, I just mean like the volume is pure like we're reached the volume of what we're doing is just there.
Yeah.
And you can feel it, and it's energetic. I love when the room is packed. I love when the room is like, it makes the night fly by.
Yeah.
So I definitely thrive in it. But I definitely love what I do. And if I didn't, there's no way I would have stayed this long.
Yeah.
Because of all of the challenges that do come up. There would be no way.
Yeah. It's a hard job. It's a very, very hard job. Like I can only imagine. Like so like from your professional, POV, I'm curious, like, has the industry like evolved since you started? You're a veteran, so you would know the shift in the industry more than most people. Like especially for women. Like, how would you say the industry has improved?
Yeah, I think you see different groups of people that go out and then they phase out. So I think that's probably like the number one thing is like, and I'm not talking about like maybe a few years, because now that I've been with the H.wood specifically for a decade, I would say, more of like you see it over a certain amount of time, right? You then have to now curate to the younger crowd, right? Or, how do you captivate a certain age group now, right? Like, because I actually really do enjoy all age groups when it comes to the people that like to, that can come in and come and enjoy the experience of it all. But you really do have to understand what people in their 30s are looking for, what people the older generations are looking for. So you just kind of have to read people pretty well.
Wow. And it's safe to say you've done that pretty well so far. So that's really impressive. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit more on like the brand marketing side of things. It's like you've been in this space so long, and H.wood, and you guys know what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. So I'm curious, like, for someone who's never been to Delilah, listening to this podcast, like, what would you describe the experience of Delilah from entry to exit? Like, could you?
Yeah, I think that, it's very, when you first come in, you're obviously, the goal is always have a warm greet.
Yeah.
Because that's the first initial contact. And in fact, it starts at the valet. My valet doesn't technically work under Delilah, but it really does start at the door. So ensuring that everyone is in the right headspace, we know the job. It's like showtime.
Yeah.
I believe in showtime, 6:00. It's where everything should be perfectly ready to go and settled in. And then, the goal is to always have that first impression. Once we're able to accommodate a guest, whether they have a reservation or not, I highly recommend a reservation, especially on those busier services when we get super packed in. I definitely, that's when kind of the experience starts. Sometimes there's a wait time. We have to have people go to the bar or whatnot. But the general goal is to kind of get people seated and sorted as soon as we can. The experience is essentially from, you're having a full course dinner, you're having your appetizers, your main course, and then your dessert. We do have 2-hour dining periods on all reservations for that's the goal, is just to kind of keep things moving in a sense, but we don't want to make anyone feel that way. It's very important that we feel that hospitality is first and foremost, and how to navigate that can be challenging, as you can imagine. It's just a house rule that we have, essentially, just like we have the no photo policy. That's a house rule. So we do have our own house rules within the H.wood Group
Oh, wow.
that we do ask clients to uphold their end of the bargain, essentially. We try to obviously over communicate these things, just like we have a dress code and whatnot, right? So these house rules are in place, but throughout the dining experience, the goal is to obviously ensure that, we're curating to people and what they want. So when you sit down, it's like, what do you like? What type of drink spirit do you like? Do you like something that's going to be more, what flavor profiles? That goes down to the cocktails you're drinking, the wine you're drinking, if you want to lean champagne. Even the same thing goes for your food. If you want, what do you like? Do you have any allergies? Like, these are things where it's like we're curating a vibe. So being able or curating what the guest wants,
Right.
that's important. So we really strive for that, where I always make sure the team knows, how do you lean into the guest experience? You lean into it by ensuring that the client gets what they like.
Yeah.
And that's important, and then throughout the dining experience, they can have the fun with the live music. We have live music, every day of the week. Sometimes it's a soloist, but then we have full band that will transition, and then we have DJ as well. So these are things that we curate. The DJ's Thursday through Sunday, so it definitely is more of that party scene those nights of the week.
Wow. Okay, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact, Delilah, they have their way of doing things, and it shows every time I enter that room. I feel it. I'm like, okay, this feels like a Delilah experience.
Yeah.
And that's so special that you guys curated that, but all by design. And I love that.
Dancers are another special element of the room. We have burlesque dancing. They start as atmospheric, and then they move into the dance routines. And they do costume change and whatnot as well. So it kind of livens up throughout the evening, where it kind of starts off more of like this picture, like this, like elegance versus, okay, now it's a party and we're here to, put on choreographed routines.
Wow. Okay, that's like it's a whole production.
It is.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Moving parts.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. Okay, so so clearly Delilah is known as blending dining, entertainment, and nightlife seamlessly. You guys are just doing it so well. Like, how are you guys blending all that together? That just seems very complex.
It is. I think that just knowing certain times, you got to know the time slots in which we do things, right? So just it's like repetition. You got to read the room too. Sometimes if I feel, I don't have to do it so much at Delilah, but if you feel like maybe tell the DJ do something different with the music, or, not that it doesn't always happen, but, we have a sequence of lighting that we focus on throughout the evening as well. The lighting, the changes might be subtle, but they make a big difference. So, there's you're right. It's not just what you guys are actually. It is almost just like and managers are involved in this. Like, managers are involved ensuring that the lighting is in a certain routine set or things of that nature. And just, it's really just about knowing the venue and knowing and reading it. Just like a DJ kind of plays to the crowd.
Yeah.
The managers play to essentially what the room is also doing as well. We have to be tuned in. So a lot of times I'm not in the office. I'm very much so present on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And I'm actively there.
Oh, wow. So you're very hands-on with all of that.
Yeah. Like,
What-
you're not going to see me in the office during all the fun stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have Michelle in there.
Yeah, it's gotta be in it.
1,000%. Yeah, I love that a lot. I really do. So, so obviously, Delilah, you guys have mastered, you guys are the pioneer when it comes to social dining experiences. You guys figured it out, perfected it. But how do you continue to do that? Like, what makes Delilah stand out in a competitive nightlife scene, especially in West Hollywood? How are you guys staying on top?
Sure. We have a very unique clientele. I think that there's sometimes when I walk in the room and I literally see the same faces all the time. It's almost like I'm just like revisiting everyone that I saw last week, especially like, on a Sunday where we have these standing reservations and we have the same clientele that come in every Sunday. They're reoccurring. that's the best. That's when you feel like the venue is like, it's almost like it's a safe haven. It's fun. It's like, you're going to see this person, like they're going to be there. And so I think one is just like the clientele. And if we don't have that retention, ultimately we don't have the success that we need, right? That we're looking for. Not just older clientele or the Rolodex clientele that we cater to, but it's also embracing new clientele too. It's super important, and that's what we also lean into as well when it comes to making sure that we're getting to know people. We table touch, we make sure that people are enjoying everything, and sometimes I might learn an entirely new person but just by table touching and ensuring that they know that we care about their quality of experience or their experience. We're really fortunate to also be like a supper club. So the aspect of the food really is people want to eat. I mean, you can imagine going out, being, under intoxication and wanting to find somewhere where they still service food. We are fortunate enough to have food into the late night. We do a late night menu as well. So you can come in and you can order chicken tenders while you're having a good time, and it's 12:30 a.m. That is a unique opportunity as well for Delilah specifically. I think ultimately the marketing team, to your point that you mentioned earlier, you got to have a really good marketing team. And I work really closely with someone on my marketing team who is so receptive and collaborative with me that the marketing, which we saw that we've been doing for the 2000s night or, running into the jazz night, it is extremely beneficial. Like, you have to make sure that you have those fresh ideas, and they're really coming from, again, like the younger generations in a way now, where we are playing into, or even just like, people my age, right? Where, I'm, in my 30s, and I'm like leaning more of like, how can we get those people to come back out? They have kids, maybe they have, now they're married. Like, how do we cater to them ultimately as well still? So it's kind of like, knowing what people like and what they want, but marketing is very important. And you really got to have the tools to know what active engagement with people on social media, and be coming up with fresh ideas. 2000s night is a fresh idea that we did for Thursday nights, Throwback Thursday. Remember when everybody would do the hashtag TBD or TBT? Yeah. So it's like,
I'm very nostalgic.
It's nostalgia. People love it. I've heard feedback, maybe people don't love that era of music, but, ultimately the masses do. I feel like sometimes whenever I'm listening to 2000s music, I'm in a specific headspace, and I'm like, it's very much so your inner self. So we kind of brought that back, and it's been great. It's been super successful, but the marketing of it all has been fun.
Yes.
And people like to be engaged with that aspect as well.
I love that. I love how you guys get creative, come up with like these different ways to reactivate old audiences while connecting to the newer audiences. I think that's genius. I love how you guys just do it over and over again, do it so well. But okay, so as the manager, though, as the general manager, you're involved in the marketing too? Like, do they loop you into that too? Or is that like a separate team? Are you just like, oh, you guys do whatever you want? Does that come back to you too? Or
Yeah,
how does that mean?
Well, being the GM, I have to be looped in on everything. We have monthly meetings where obviously we talk about fresh ideas and how we can pinpoint certain areas of opportunity. And I worked very closely with the marketing team and just like everyone across the board at the corporate level. You have to be collaborative on both ends to essentially, and I'm in the venue the most. I see the venue the most. So if anything, they're gonna trust my judgment on what I see fit. And then when I plant an idea or we like an idea, marketing team hits the ground and they run. I mean, I was super impressed with the 2000s marketing myself, and it became an idea. It was an idea, and then it became this whole like identity, and that was the goal. I wanted the Thursdays have an identity.
Yeah.
And it became that. And marketing team took it to a whole nother level.
Wow.
Because there's only so much that I can do,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I'm already pretty spread thin, as you can imagine. My goal is just ultimately my goal is, yes, the business to make money. I want customer satisfaction. I want the reputation upheld in the community, because I really do think of Delilah as in the community. But ultimately, I think about my staff too. Like when things happen and they're not making the money that perhaps, like during the fires, I think is a prime example. And the business was not obviously pumping. And I know how that might look like with us being open, maybe, but it's also. I think about my team and I think about how they suffered during that time, because ultimately, like, we're a community. Like, we all need to pay our bills. We all need to, you know what I mean? And essentially my team and, them making money is important to me.
Yeah.
I really am like kind of like a selfless person when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Wow. No, that's really special. Obviously, the LA fires was devastating.
Yeah.
We all, was blindsided by that. And I love how you stepped up and, you took charge to support your team, support, the community at large to navigating that. So thank you so much for doing that. But I'm curious though, because, Delilah, the brand is very, it's very high end, very premium, it's known to be very exclusive. Like what are you doing now to maintain the exclusivity while still keeping it accessible to the community?
Yeah. There's always going to be things that H.wood does where it's going to be something people want to attend.
Yeah.
I think like Coachella parties are like a cool aspect of what we do. We also do like fun Super Bowl parties.
I love that.
They do so many other things that obviously I see from the marketing aspect of what we're doing. We just launched a Rolodex program, actually, to which anyone, you can certainly apply to the H.wood Rolodex program, and it allows people to kind of have more access to the things that we put on. We've always kind of felt more like, not so much a members club, but we've been fortunate enough to kind of work off of a Rolodex program, while still knowing that the community as a whole and having people part of that as we continue to expand, right? That essentially we understand the importance of that.
Oh, wow.
So not only do we offer people to kind of be a part of the exclusivity in a sense through the Rolodex program, right? But we understand the importance of, new people wanting to have new experiences and new, maybe there's that younger generation who's now kind of branching out and wanting to be a part of these types of things too.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love what you guys are doing with the Rolodex. It sounds very interesting. So just so I understand and I'm clear on that, if I'm a member, I get more access to your venue?
Yes, correct. There's perks that we offer with the H.wood Rolodex program.
Yeah.
That allows, certain, things to be waived, or perhaps, special invites to certain events that we throw, off-site events. So yeah, we do offer that as well.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I love to hear the innovation on that. That's really great.
And the marketing team did great with that too. So it's, again, the marketing is important.
Wow. Oh, speaking of marketing though, can you share like a recent campaign or event or collaboration that you've particularly am proud of?
I mean, the 2000s for sure, just because Thursdays, they are back.
Yeah.
Thursdays are fun. Thursdays are lively. I would say Thursdays are probably one of like the busier, favorite nights of the week now. And, that's been a huge transition.
I love that.
So I would say the 2000s campaign that we just recently did, and leaning more into the music aspect of it all is really exciting. And I mean, they're always going to have their other fun offsite events that they do that are always going to keep things fresh. But
I love
for me specifically in Delilah, I would say the 2000s.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is Thursday. Would you say that's like the flagship party right there, and that you guys are pushing out?
Currently, it is. I mean, Jazz Night has always kind of had
Instinct.
its thing, and Jazz Night has always kind of been like I feel like a given, you know. Jazz Night is a very special night as well, which is the Sunday night, of course. But now that we have a new, fresh identity for a Thursday, that's also really fun. So we have two certain nights where they have their identities. You have the Jazz Night, and then you have, you know, the 2000s night. So.
We just went to Jazz Night on Sunday, and it was great. It was so good. So I think my next on my to-do list is checking out on Thursday.
Yeah, it's on a Thursday.
I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. So like what can we expect to see in the future of Delilah? Like, what are you doing with the space next? Like,
Well, you're currently like renovating. Delilah's 9 years young,
wow.
which is, you know, it's a staple, like you said, in the city. I mean, to be 9 years in LA, which is a huge accomplishment. So we're renovating. We have new upholstery that in-house. You know, that's just one element, right? I think that introducing different music styles as well is another one. We've changed the music programming up a bit, right? We're offering different types of food menus are important as well. Drink menus. We're actually going to be launching new food menu here soon, as well as the drink menu as well. So these types of things give opportunity for new marketing and whatnot. You know, and our goal is to, of course, always build better in terms of like, you know, food and the drink program and all these different things that go into play, all these different, you know, F&B standards. So,
Right.
But Delilah is expanding around the world, around the country. So it's becoming a staple in other cities too. We have Miami, we have Vegas, we have Delilah in the pipeline. Or excuse me, Dallas in the pipeline. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, that's amazing. It's amazing to see how much you guys have grown and expanded. So impressive. Delilah is such a strong brand, and you spoke a lot about your team during this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very curious to know, like, with this expansion, how does that tie into all of that? Like, how are you building and maintaining that strong team dynamic as you guys grow? I imagine everyone else is stressed out too.
Yeah, I think that being the OG Delilah,
Yeah.
I needed to condition people to know that we are part of a bigger brand now. We're not the only singular Delilah, and we have to make sure that we're following protocol just like all the other Delilahs are. And that goes to like even like the simple aesthetics that we do. Like we wear Delilah pendants, or we wear you know, certain, you know, uniform standards have to be the same. It's like when you're the OG of the venue, you might you might adopt some bad behaviors because you know, but the goal is to standardize as much as possible. And have, you know, we're different in a sense because again we operate differently. If you go to the Miami location, it's 2-story and things of that nature. So, I mean, even just like the way that we're operationally like directly on Santa Monica Boulevard offers different, you know, opportunities in a sense when it comes to how we navigate the door. But I think ultimately, you know, standardizing Delilah and allowing the staff to know the drinks should taste the same. If you're going to, now, not every drink we have on the program at every location is the same, but we do have like standardized drinks that you can perhaps find at another Delilah, and just making sure that the quality is the same. That's important. So like making sure like if you go in and you order the spiced sienna, it's the same as it would taste anywhere at the other Delilahs.
Oh, wow.
So standardizing and quality control and just ensuring that the team knows that we have a reputation to uphold. At the end of the day, that we are part of a bigger picture.
Yeah. I mean, based on that, standard that you guys uphold, I imagine it's so hard to get a job there. Are you able to talk to me about, what qualities do you look for when you're hiring? Like, for such a high energy, fast paced environment, like you have to have like a stricter hiring process, right?
The hiring process is, I mean, I've hired people where I just go off of the engagement of the interview versus the actual resume. Um, I will say that some of those people have actually been some of my best hires. Where I just knew I was going to give someone an opportunity because they were so hungry for it. And I just knew that based on meeting them and sitting down with them. Um, so I think some people give off more hunger in interviews than others. And I think just if I'm not going off of that, right, and I generally go off of their resume because I honestly don't want to bring someone in and overwhelm them. I do consider that when I'm hiring. I know what Delilah can be like. So for instance, if I'm going to hire a host, I don't want them to be in over their head. I do consider that. So we have, of course, other venues as well I might recommend to. And I'm very transparent with anyone I'm interviewing and being like, hey, this might be a better fit for you, giving your resume and whatnot. I'm not just going to shut it down. I'm going to consider maybe another venue and put that in my notes. But ultimately, it's knowing and being passionate about F&B. I mean, you got to know certain things when it comes to allergens and why they're super important, or curating the guest experience and why it's super important. Do you smile?
Right.
I think that's a key element.
Yeah, I gotta look, gotta be able to smile.
I think it's like you gotta be able to show me that, like, one, and I understand the pressures and the nerves that come with interviewing, and I get it. But a smile can go a long way. And we are in hospitality, so at the end of the day, like, I want to see and feel that, like, you have that within you, because it's really hard to pull it out of people. Like, I can't spend much time pulling that side of your personality out. You got to be able to kind of be both. But somebody giving me examples on how they stay calm under pressure is important as well, because again, I don't want to set someone up for failure. That's not the goal. The goal is just to have someone that comes in and can do the role confidently and know what they're getting themselves into as well. And it's an equal exchange, like
Right. No, absolutely. You seem like you might be a strict interviewer. I mean, like, I feel like, do candidates often approach nervous and like not knowing how to handle it?
I've actually been told that it's the opposite when I'm interviewing. I've made people feel really comfortable, actually, because I'm not straight to the point necessarily. I'm very much so like, it has to kind of feel like a conversation too. It's not just me like, why should I hire you? What do you do? Like, it's not all about that. It's also getting to actually know and gauge like how they are as a person, how they handle stuff. So, or what they know in terms, I don't know. It's a weird dance, and you have to be able to be someone that you're humanizing the process. I humanize the process. Yeah, I try to humanize it as much as possible because ultimately, I understand the jitters of coming in and wanting a job. And some people, like, they really, really want to work there.
Yeah.
And I'm compassionate about that because I get, like, it's not easy to find a stable income in LA.
Right.
And Delilah offers stability. And so I certainly, don't take that lightly. I understand that people need work. So I do give everyone a fair opportunity as much as possible when interviewing.
That's so nice. Yeah, I love that a lot. So, like, I mean, in such a dynamic environment like that, like, how do you handle conflict or difficult situations, with guests or a team member? How are you navigating it?
Sure. I'm always going to think about what's best for the venue. I'm always going to put the venue as a priority. There's a lot of things that come up, of course. I don't think there's probably like an issue that like I've not dealt with in terms of what Delilah can offer. So I think just ultimately, if I uphold the standards, right, we have protocols in place, these types of things, we have house rules, I'm upholding all those standards, but I'm also thinking about the better benefit of the venue. the better benefit of my employees, safety measures, and whatnot. And as long as I uphold all of that, or it's kind of like it makes for a great night.
Yeah, I love that a lot. I love that a lot. This honestly, you've dropped a lot of gems on this conversation. I'm just like, my brain is like, I could talk to you about this all day long, like literally, literally. But right before I kind of like wrap this up a little bit, is there like, and is there anything special you would like to share? Anything cool? Any special announcements that you might want listeners to know about?
Well, yeah, we might be coming to a city towards you.
I love that a lot. I love that. You heard that here first. Delilah, they coming after you. I love that a lot. No, this is great. This has been great. I typically like to ask all my guests something like industry trends type question. Obviously nightlife is changing a lot. You've been hearing a lot of chatter and a lot of feedback of the direction of the industry. What's your POV, especially when it comes to the LA nightlife? Like, what are your thoughts on the future of our industry? Like, when you
Right. It's so crazy because we are at the mercy of the community, right? So it's like I said, like with the fires and COVID and all these different things that do, they happen. It does put us at the mercy of like our actual environment, right? But I think ultimately, we have to look into the younger generation and see what kind of music they like. Their music preferences are a little different, right? Their outfits are different. Like I was saying earlier to a friend, I was like, I might go out to the club and I'm in high heels and I'm like dressed to the nine, and now I see the girls wearing like Converse or like, sneakers.
Yeah.
And it's just different. It's a different environment. So catering a little bit and learning how they operate now, because ultimately, I mean, they're the ones who like to go out the most, right? So just being able to kind of dive into that younger generation, and ultimately it is going to come down to like knowing what kind of music they like too. We are a music venue, so making sure that when they do come in the venue, are we playing the music that they like, or all of that. But the dinner aspect again is super important. I very much lean into the dinner aspect as well.
Yep.
That's what makes us so special, is being that hybrid. So we have to have quality control. We have to ensure that like guests are satisfied with the dining experience as well, because it ultimately is what is a huge part of what we do.
Right.
It's not just sell bottles and do the bottle service sales. It's also the curation of the dinner portion as well, and ensuring quality control throughout the entire evening.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I really love that. You are a work of art. You know how to do this. Thank you so much, Michelle. This is great.
We got to do this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for jumping on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.